Yo, what's good? What's going on out there, baby? It's your boy, Icecold's Corner. Today, February 8th, the day after hell is frozen over. I'm just coming here to the studio. Saw a pig fly over my car. Only mean one thing. New Orleans Saints are the Super Bowl champions. As I said it, the New Orleans Saints are the Super Bowl champions. So I had to come in here, even with the Brody Jenner, 5 o'clock shadow face right now, and give a quick recap. Obviously, I picked the Colts to win the game. I wasn't saying I was rooting for them. I was rooting for them Saints, but picked the Colts to win. Saints pulled it out. A couple things I saw that impressed me during the game, that stuck out to me. One, I heard Phil Simms mention that the defensive coordinator for the Saints said that he was planning on giving Peyton Manning different looks throughout the game. So as he'd have one core look defensively that he was going to give him for the first quarter or for the first half, then give him another look for the third quarter, and then a totally different look again for the fourth quarter, which is something I haven't really heard too much of. I guess maybe it happens a lot in the NFL. I hadn't heard too much of that before. People usually come in there with one set game plan and stick to it the whole game, but I thought it was pretty clever how they mix things up from quarter to quarter, actually. And I think it helped. I think it totally worked in the end. Peyton was facing a lot more blitzes towards the end of the game, and obviously the biggest play of the game. And he brought six. They brought six to the quarterback, and Porter jumped the route, took it to the house. That was pretty much the game after that. So I think the progression of defensive changes helped that play develop throughout the course of the game. So that was pretty big. Speaking of Peyton Manning, people are saying a lot about his legacy being damaged after this game. Yes and no. I kind of agree. I almost want to say he can't be considered the greatest of all time now, because he has lost. Number one, he only has one Super Bowl. He's lost the Super Bowl, and his overall record is actually at 9-9 in the playoffs for his career, which is very mediocre in every sense of the word. So I think he's, for now, out of the discussion of greatest ever. Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. He's got 4 of them. Just off the top of my head, Elway's got 2, even though he lost 3, I think, or maybe even 4. I don't know how he's considered by some better than Montana, but to each his own. And I think even Brady's 3 is more impressive than Manning's 1 right now, which is weird, because if Manning would have won this one, I think his 2 would have been more impressive than Brady's 3, because I think he played with overall less talent than Brady for those 2 championships. But hey, all this to say, Peyton Manning played a hell of a game yesterday. He was phenomenal in the first half, and really, he didn't get the ball at all once the Saints offense got going and chewing the clock. But if you look at his numbers, he went 31 of 45 for 333 yards, a touchdown, and 1 pick. Now, obviously, the pick was pretty much the one that sealed the game, but Peyton Manning played a great game. So for people to look at him and say that he choked or anything else like that, I don't think 333 and 1 touchdown is choking. But hey, Peyton Manning didn't get the job done at the end of the day. On the flip side, Drew Brees was absolutely phenomenal. His numbers: 32 of 39, 288, 2 touchdowns, no picks, didn't turn the ball over at all. That was huge. I had this talk with somebody earlier, and I heard some other people talking about it. You really got to look at possibly Drew Brees, being on that outer crust and having the situation all in his hands to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He was already pretty good before he got to New Orleans, but 4 years ago, he gets to New Orleans, and he has been, for that 4 years, a top 5 quarterback in the league. Now he's got a Super Bowl trophy to go along with that, Super Bowl ring. I don't know if he has an MVP. I know he could have won one this year. In his first year with the Saints, he might have won it. If he didn't, he could have won it that year. So you're looking at 2 possible MVP seasons. He's on the outer cusp. He's got some years to go. You know, if he does this, I'll say for instance, if he does this for another 4 years, he could be looking at Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback. Like I said, yeah, he was phenomenal last night. Phenomenal. Couldn't, from what everything I hear and what I see on TV, couldn't happen to a better guy. Next, the Saints defense, much maligned. Everybody thought they'd just get carved up by Peyton all game, but you can make the argument they did. But as I said last week, they make plays. That's a talent, and they made the biggest play you can make with the Porter interception, taking it to the house. Huge. Saints defense gets much props. I thought they had to, hear a lot of nonsense throughout the 2 weeks. They made a play to win the game, and it couldn't get any bigger than that. Saints made a play, and I said also in the preview that they had to turn Manning over 2 times. Well, they turned him over once, and you can make the argument that the unbelievable onside kick call, which they recovered, was also a turnover for the Colts as well. And those were the two big plays, special teams and defense that they needed to make to win this game, and they did it. Saints earned that one last night. It was a great game, phenomenal game, great Super Bowl. So many twists and turns, so many good stories that came out of it, so many subplots that came out of it. Great Super Bowl. It didn't go down to the final second or anything else like it did last year with the Cardinals and Steelers, but still a great game to watch. Thoroughly enjoyed it. One thing I want to leave you on, it's becoming a trend. Man, I'm starting to see here with these championship games and the lead up and the build up that goes up to it. It has happened again, and it's something where you get all this time to dissect the game and dissect the players, and you put one team or one player on such a high pedestal that it's almost unrealistic for them to match up with or come to, and it could frustrate the other team at the same time. And what I mean by that, examples of that is a couple years ago, USC, Texas in the Rose Bowl. All month you heard about how USC could possibly be the greatest team of all time in college football. And you have to hear that if you're Texas or a Texas fan, you have to hear that every single day. Even a USC player, you have to hear that every single day for a month. You get into the championship game, it's just one game. You go head to head, and you can let emotion and everything else carry you through that game. Texas ends up winning that game. 2 years ago, New England Patriots, New York Giants, you had to hear for 2 weeks how New England was possibly the greatest team of all time, going for the undefeated season. You get into that game, New York, ready to play, focus on that one game and that one moment, knock off the New England Patriots. This time, this year, for 2 weeks, you heard Peyton Manning possibly being the all-time greatest quarterback after this win. It was almost a foregone conclusion that he was going to win this game. Yeah, the Saints were a great story, but Peyton was Peyton, and Peyton was ready to take his place into that all-time great level. Doesn't win this game. So remember this in the future. I usually go away from what the popular vote is, what everybody's saying. I usually go to the side of that. Didn't do that this year, but I'm a believer in that. When everybody's going one way, kind of look at, especially in football, kind of look at the other side and be like, hey, look out for these guys. It's just too much on one side, if that makes any sense. So remember that in the future. That's my Super Bowl recap. I'm coming later on this week with my NBA, maybe a little college basketball halftime report card, since we're coming up on the All-Star break. That's all I got today for Icecold's Corner. Holla at me later on. Y'all stay up, 100.